Got a Honda Pilot in the shop, and the complaint on this one is that the AC is shutting off when the vehicle's sitting still at an idle. So let's check it out, see if we can't figure out what's going on. This is what we're working on today, a 2012 Honda Pilot. We'll hook up the scan tool and see if there's any codes in it. And we'll just scan everything. Looks like we do have some fault codes, 4 of them, in the body control module, so let's check those out. And here they are right here. Looks like we got an open or a short in mode control motor circuit, problem with the blower motor, a short in the rear air mix control, and the rear air mix control motor circuit or linkage. So there's definitely some problems with the HVAC. I'm not sure if this is going to shut our system down. Possibly this one. Some Hondas, they're programmed, if they recognize a problem in the blower motor circuit, they can shut the AC off. So that's a possibility. But typically, if it detects a problem like that and the blower's not on, then it shuts the system off. I think in this case it was actually blowing hot air, so I don't think that's going to help us out, but we'll have to keep that in the back of our mind. Now the vehicle's already warmed up, and apparently the AC was working fine if you're driving around, but as soon as you stop and park for a little bit, that's when supposedly the air would stop working, or it would work intermittently. So I think it's hot enough out today. Hey, Alexa, what's the temperature outside today?
Right now, it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
100.
Tonight,
Alexa, off. Okay, it's 100 out, so that should be hot enough for us to recreate any issues, I think. So how about we take this thing for a test drive, see if we can't verify the complaint. All right, inside the climate control module, live data. Honda software has no data for this vehicle. Ah, great. Okay, there's all our codes that we just looked at. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to erase those. Alright, and so the short in the rear air mix control motor circuit comes back immediately. So that's definitely probably an issue, but it's not going to be our issue today. But we'll see if any other codes come back while we're doing our test drive. But we'll look up some live data. Alright, I brought out the thermometer so we can check the vent temps, and I brought up some data, everything I thought might be pertinent. So I got our ECTs 1 and 2. Now we got to remember that this vehicle has a VCM muzzler on there, which is attached to the ECT1. So that can skew our ECT1 voltages, so we need to keep that in mind. Anyway, intake air temperature sensor, our AC switch and clutch, and our fan control high and low. This vehicle has a high and low for our fans. And I could not find a data PID for the high pressure sensor on the AC. Typically, most of these Hondas around this age have those, but this one, I couldn't find it anywhere. Alright, we'll just take it for a drive. We'll keep an eye on our vent temps, and we'll keep an eye on data on the scan tool and see what's going on. And then we can park it and let it idle for a bit, and then see if anything changes. Evidently that is when things would act up. If you're driving it around town and then you park, you're at a drive-through or something, or you stop and idle for a little bit, that's when it would start to act up. So that's what we're looking for. Okay, right away, before I even pull out of the garage, you can see that our vent temps are dropping pretty drastically. So the AC apparently is working right now. And according to our data, our AC is on and the fans are on. Alright, just cruising around locally, blowing 47 already out of the vents, and hopefully you can see everything seems to be okay. Nothing super out of the ordinary. All this looked normal. Alright, this thing was blowing 43, 44 as I was driving around. Now that I'm parked slightly higher, 45, 46. So now we'll just keep an eye on things and see if we can get it to act up. I'll just let it sit here and idle. And if you're curious what a VCM muzzler or VCM delete does, basically it plugs into the ECT1 and it manipulates the signal, and it basically keeps it around 160 degrees, at least the signal that's going to the computer, and it fools the computer into thinking that the engine isn't fully warmed up. And so if the engine doesn't think that the vehicle is fully warmed up, it does not activate the echo mode, which in this case the echo light would be over here, and it doesn't deactivate any of the cylinders. So in the case of this vehicle, it's going to be a 6-cylinder vehicle or 6-cylinder engine all the time. After sitting here a minute or two, we can see the temperature has gone up on our dash. Now typically when you're at an idle or standing still, that temperature on the dash is going to go up a little bit. So we'll definitely keep an eye on it and see how high this goes. Because obviously we're not moving, we don't have the airflow of a moving vehicle going across our radiator and condenser. So that's definitely something that we need to think about, is airflow across that condenser. Now the VCM muzzler in this vehicle, once, I don't know what the temperature has to be, but once it gets too warm, it will start reporting the correct temperature to the engine computer. So that is a nice feature on the one that's installed on this vehicle. So we can see it jump from 165-ish to now 203. So that's something to be aware of. It's sensed that it's gotten hot enough where it needed to start, I think, reporting correctly. And you can see that must be right around the cutoff, right where it is. Because now it's jumping all over the place. 203, 204, right back down to 165 and in between. So we must be hitting right at the cutoff where this VCM muzzler wants to show the correct temperature. And our ECT2 at the bottom of our radiator is now 197. So we'll just keep an eye on these things. Everything else is still on. Alright, now we had a change. Our AC has shut down. Oh, and now it just came back on. And you can see our ECT is all the way up to 213 now. It's bouncing around still. But yeah, things are starting to shut off. I think we've recreated the issue. And we're starting to get pretty darn warm really fast. You can feel that the AC has shut off again. Now it's back on. And back off. So yeah, we're definitely everything is turning on and off right now. And our fans are switching. Right now the high control is off, but our low is on. Now we're blowing 86, 87 degrees. Now the AC's on. I can see that going down. So when the AC kicks on, it cools off pretty quick. And then all of a sudden it'll shut off and we go right back up. And I just felt it shut off. The temperature's probably going to rise now. Yep, there it goes. I can feel it blowing warm air. You can clearly see that it's off. Even though it says on here that it's on. But we're definitely still off here. And it just kicked back on and back off. So it's definitely cycling, everything's cycling on and off. And we're jumping up to about 217 degrees. And now we're blowing 98, 99. So we have recreated the problem. This is definitely the problem. Let's pop the hood. I want to take a look at those fans and see what's going on with the fans under the hood. Alright, right now both cooling fans, high and low, say on. Let's go out here and see. Nope, I see one's on. Hopefully you can hear one is on and one is off. Come over here. Yeah, the radiator fan, that's the fan over there on the driver's side or the left side. That's on. Our AC condenser fan right here, hopefully you can see, it is not running. Definitely not running. Don't try this at home. Spinning it a little bit makes it run a little bit, but I think we found our problem. This fan not running is definitely causing our problem on our AC. Hopefully you can see the coolant level in the reservoir is okay. And we're still blowing 90 to 100 depending on whether the AC turns on or off. Right now it turned off, so it's shooting way up. Then it'll turn on, maybe it'll drop it down to 90 or 80. Like comes back on. At that time it cycled on and off really fast, but it may stay on for a little bit and drop this down to about 80, but when it's off you can see we're blowing in the hundreds, 112, 113. So how about we pull this in the shop and see if we can't troubleshoot that cooling fan, because that'll definitely cause this issue. Going back into the climate control module, I want to see if there's any new codes. We still have that one, the permanent short in the rear air mix motor, so I don't think that's going to be our issue. Definitely I believe our issue is going to be that cooling fan. Alright, let's talk about the blower motor and how it can affect our AC system. There's a feedback circuit from the blower motor to our HVAC control unit, and that blower motor has to work on every single speed. So if the control unit senses a problem at any speed for the blower motor circuit, it's going to turn our AC system off. So it's going to shut off the AC compressor, and it's also going to shut off both fans if they were turned on by our AC request. Now that does not shut off the fans through the engine computer and being controlled by engine temperature. If the temperature gets hot enough on the engine through the ECT1, those fans can still come on, and typically that's going to happen around 205 to 210 degrees on most Hondas. Now I just recently serviced the AC system on this vehicle, and I think it was a couple months ago, and I believe it was just a little bit low on refrigerant, and when I let it go it was working great. Now based on that and the fact that when we drive around, and I was just driving around in town, I wasn't even on the freeway, so just going 30-40 miles an hour, I mean the AC was blowing 42-43 degrees pretty quickly. I didn't even drive that far. So because of that and the fact I just serviced it, I don't really think we have a problem with the AC system, but we won't know that for sure until we get this fan diagnosed and fixed. It doesn't help us at all to try to diagnose anything on the AC system until we get both of these fans working properly as they should. This thing is smoking hot, so before we stick our fingers in there and burn ourselves, how about we let this thing cool down? In the meantime, I'm going to pull up a wiring diagram for this cooling fan circuit. Okay, I printed this out some stuff, and first off, let's just reference where everything is. Okay, ECT1, you can see it pointed right there, and can you see it? No. That's it down there, right at the end of my flashlight right over there. And I don't know if you can see, but we have a harness plugged into it, and it comes over here and attached to the battery. That's our VCM muzzler on this vehicle, so that's where it is. And ECT2 is going to be at the very bottom of the radiator. I can't really show it to you on this vehicle. And then of course our radiator fan, that's going to be the fan on this side, and our AC condenser fan is a fan on this side, and that's the one that's not working. And then our under hood fuse relay box right there, that's where our relays are going to be for these fans. And in this position, our radiator fan relay, this one's going to be our AC condenser fan relay, and then this one, it's going to have 3 relays because we have a high and low. So this fan control relay is what allows us to have high and low control. So that's everything on this vehicle that we need to worry about. Okay, here's our wiring diagram for our fans, our cooling fans anyway. Up here, this box right here is our under hood fuse relay box. These are our 3 relays. And then here's our AC condenser fan motor, here's our radiator fan motor, and this is going to be our engine computer, also known as a PCM or powertrain control module. And as you can see, our fans are completely controlled by our engine computer based on inputs from the cooling temperature sensors, ECT1 and 2, and based on inputs from our AC system too. Okay, real quick, the way this circuit works, when the engine computer wants the fans to run on low speed, it will activate this circuit right here. So it just activates the circuit, and it does that by providing a ground right here. And so it provides a ground to the control side of this radiator fan relay. And that basically runs power, and I'll show you how it does it in a second, but it runs power to both the AC condenser fan and the radiator fan, and basically hooks them together and makes one giant fan. And by doing that, because we've connected them both together, they run at about half speed. So that's the low speed. When it wants them to run on high speed, it will activate both of these circuits. So it'll do the same thing here, and then it will also provide a ground to this side too. And if you notice, it's connected right here. So that means that this is providing a ground to this side of our control circuit on this fan control relay. It also provides a ground to the control side of this AC condenser fan relay. So that means when both of these circuits are activated, all three of our relays should be activated. And by doing that, now both of these fans are going to run independent of each other, and then they'll run on high speed. And I'll run through it real quick on how the power flows. Now, just like our cooling fans, the AC system is also controlled by the engine computer. When you press the AC button inside, all that's doing is a request to the engine computer saying, hey, I want the AC on. And then if the engine computer sees all the inputs it likes, it'll turn everything on. If not, it can shut it down. Now, in our case, this vehicle is shutting down the AC when we're sitting in an idle. What's a possible cause of that? Well, typically, if the pressure from the AC system drops too low, below 28 psi, then it will shut the system down. If it goes too high also, above 455 psi, it can shut the system down too. That's what I think is going on. I think we're spiking and hitting 450 psi on the high side. And by the way, that sensor right there is sensing the pressure on our high side of our AC system. So I think we're spiking at 455 or more. As soon as the engine computer sees that, it shuts the system down. Things will kind of calm down, and then it goes below 455. Boom, it fires the system back up until it hits 455 again. Without seeing it, being able to see it on a scan tool, I'm not absolutely positive. I didn't have the AC gauges hooked up either, but that's kind of my gut feeling, is that it's seeing something it doesn't like on the pressure and it's shutting the system down. Most likely because, you know, our cooling fan is not working. Most likely it's the pressure getting too high. Okay, let's go over the low side. I kind of marked it up so it'll be a little more simple so we can kind of get a visual on what's going on. Of course, our engine computer is going to control this circuit right here, and so this is providing a negative to our radiator fan relay. And for this coil of wire to energize, we need a negative source, and we need a power, or a positive source, or a power. So if we follow this back, it goes through our ignition switch over to the battery. So once you turn that ignition switch on, we got power coming through over here, and this little diode just means that the power is only going to go in one direction. It won't backfeed the other way, as long as this diode's working correctly. And so the power comes in, and in this case it splits, and it feeds this relay and it feeds this relay. But in this case, we're not really worried about this relay because this side is not going to be energized right now. So we're only concerned with this relay. So now we have power here, and our engine computer provides a ground that energizes this coil of wire. Anytime we run energy through a coil of wire, it creates a magnetic field. That magnetic field pulls the metal contact closed, and that completes our circuit on this side. This is going to be our load side. So this is our control side. This is what's controlling it. This is the load side doing the work. So if we follow this, we have a number 7 30 amp fuse that's providing power from our battery. So we have power coming in. Now that this is closed, power continues on around to our motor, our radiator fan motor. So now we have power right here. Now in order for this fan to run, we need a ground or a negative on this side. So we follow this around, and now we're going to go up and we're going to go through this relay. We have not energized this relay, so this contact will stay in this position closed. And then we follow it around, and we see that we've gone to our other motor. So we're running these in series. basically we're just making a jumper wire between this side and creating one giant motor. And then this is providing the ground for our giant motor. So we have power coming in here and ground here, and then our two motors are connected. And because we've connected them, basically in the short, quick explanation, we're going to run them at about half speed, and so that's our low speed. By connecting them together and running them at the same time, we're going to run them at half speed or low speed. So that's our low speed circuit. Now we'll go over the high speed circuit, and we'll start over here with the low control, because that's where we went over what we went over before. So just like before, we're going to provide a ground right here that's going to energize this coil when we have power coming in. That closes the contact. We have power coming in to this side of the motor. Now, just like before, this needs a ground for it to run. So we follow this up and it goes over, and now we're going to energize this side also. So when the computer provides a ground here, that branches off and it's going to provide a ground to both of these control sides of the relay. And let's go ahead and follow it up. So we know that this is the same power source as this one. Over here, this power source also goes through a one-way diode. It comes around and it goes through our PGMFI sub-relay and goes to our battery. So we got power coming into this side, we have power coming into this side. The computer provides a ground that energizes this relay, and it also energizes this relay. So this is going to close this contact and make the contact go over here. It's also going to close this contact and create a continuity right there. So it's going to complete the circuit. So we follow this around, and now this is closed, so it goes over here and goes to a ground. So now we've directly grounded this motor. So that's going to create or separate it, so this motor's running on its own, so it's going to run on high speed because there's nothing else in the circuit. We're not connecting it to this motor this time. So it's going to run on high speed. Now if we follow this one over, of course we've energized this coil, completed the contact, and power comes in from number 6, 30 amp views, and it goes to this side of our condenser fan motor, and then now we have a ground. So by doing that, now this is going to run by itself and it's going to run on high speed. So that's how, by energizing all three of these relays, we now run these motors independent of each other, which is going to run them on high speed or full power. So now let's think about it. What do we have going on our vehicle? Well, our radiator fan appears to be running on high speed, and then our AC condenser fan doesn't appear to be running. Now when I kind of moved it, it looks like it was kind of going in half speed, and then when everything would shut off and it would fire back up, I don't think I showed it on camera, but this would not move again. But if I went and pushed it, it would kind of go, not even half speed, it would just kind of go a little bit. So this one appears to be running full speed or high speed. This one's not running at all. So how can that happen? Well, if we look at our wiring diagram, in order for this radiator fan to run on high speed, that means both of these need to be energized. And so that means all three of our relays are energized. And in order for this to be running on high speed, we know for a fact that this radiator fan has to be, or this radiator fan relay has to be working. Otherwise we would not have power to our motor. And we also know that this ground is good. So we know that this radiator, or the fan control relay, has to be working also, because it completes the ground and causes it to run on high speed. So we know that these two relays, which if we look over here, that would be this relay here and this relay here, have to be good because this fan is running on high speed. So we've eliminated this as a problem, we've eliminated this as a problem, and we've eliminated this as a problem. So now what could our problem be? Well, it could be a bad condenser fan motor, of course, or we could have a problem with this condenser fan relay. So what's the easiest way to see if the relay is the problem? Well, these relays are the same. This one and this one are the same. So what we can do is we can just swap this relay with this one and see if our problem swaps motors. If this one still runs and this one doesn't, then it's not a problem with our relay. But if our problem moves, then we've isolated it to a relay problem. So that's a real quick, easy test that doesn't take any tools that we can do real quick. Alright, we come over here to our fuse box. Take this off. Let's see. All right, so this is our, which one is this? Radiator fan relay, and then our AC condenser fan relay, and then our relay control, or a fan control right here. So these are the two we want to swap. And by the way, if you're looking for those AC diodes, these are it right here, A and B. So let's see, we can just pull this one out. So that should be our suspect one. And then see if I can get this one out without any tools. Come on. Alright, got it out. And so they're exactly the same. So we can just swap this one over here. Come on. We'll put that one there. And we'll put this one over here. And now we'll see if our problem moved or if it stayed the same. Now to check real quick, we're just going to turn everything on. We're just going to turn the AC on. Go look at those fans. They haven't turned on yet, but they will. There we go. So that one's working, that one's not. So our problem did not move. So our problem is not a relay issue. Now, does that mean we can't have a problem in the circuit or the box or anything like that? No, but what it does mean is that the actual relay that we swapped over is not bad because it was running the other fan, and our suspect fan, the one we don't think, oh, the one we know is not working, is still not working. So we're gonna not worry about that. And now we're just gonna, I think what we'll do is we'll unplug this. How about we just put a test light right there and see if we can light a test light. So now what we'll do, we'll just unplug the connector at our AC condenser fan motor, and then we'll put a test light on one side and a test light on the other and see if it lights our test light. If it does, then we know we have a bad condenser fan motor. Alright, we'll just reach around. We should be able to unplug this. Come on, there we go. Alright, what do we got? We have, is that a black and a red wire? So just two terminals in there. So we'll just put a test light across those very gently without damaging our terminals. If you stuff things in there, you will damage these terminals, and then you'll wonder why your fan doesn't work, and you'll be replacing parts, and the whole problem will be spread terminals in there. So don't jam things down in there. But we'll just put a test light across those two terminals and see if it lights up. Now to test this circuit, we're going to use a 4 amp headlight bulb, because that motor, when I spun it a little bit, it was running, but it was running really slow. We want to make sure that we don't have a voltage drop there. So we want to use a high amperage test light just to make sure everything's good. Now to turn it on, we could go in there and do the same thing. We could turn the engine on and turn that AC on, but we should be able to go in and control this right from the scan tool. Come on. If we go into our engine computer, we should be able to go to active test, and we should be able to turn the radiator fan, and it should turn both of them on. I think this one just says radiator fan, but it should activate them both. Yeah, radiator fan. Alright, yeah, blah blah blah, yep. Alright, yes, we wish to continue. Alright, so right now it says off. As soon as I hit OK, so it turned our fans on, but we have this one unplugged. You can see that one went on. We can toggle it off. Now what I'll do, I'll have to put the camera, I'll set it up on the tripod, then I'll hit OK, and then we'll go ahead and do the test light across the terminals and see if it lights our test light. Alright, hopefully you can see over here. We'll just activate it. Whoa, super bright. So there we go. We know that this circuit is okay. We need a new AC condenser fan. Now, just to kind of prove it to you, how about we'll do the same exact test. We know it lit a test light. How about we'll plug it back in and do the same exact test and make sure that the fan still doesn't run. Alright, so we're completely plugged back in. Got the scan tool still in place. Go ahead and turn them on. see it's still doing the same thing. Let's see if it just runs a little bit. Not even a little bit right now. Alright, so this thing is completely dead. We need a new fan. Now, we know from our testing that we have a bad AC condenser fan motor. And most likely there's an open in there. And I just wanted to point out, you know, when we're running them on high, the system is separate. So this motor has its own power and ground, this motor has its own power and ground. That's why we're seeing this fan work and this one's not. When we're running them in series on low, these fans need to be both working in order for both of them to come on. So in this case, we have an open in this motor over here. Well, when we send power through and we try to connect them up, because there's an open here, we can't find a path to ground from this side over here. And so neither fan is going to run in this situation on low. So you may be wondering, hey, how come my radiator fan doesn't work on low? It works on high, but it doesn't work on low. And this one doesn't work on high or low. Well, that's why. We're separate over here on high. We're in series running them together on low. So in this situation, this scenario, when we have an open in one of the motors, in this case this one, on low, neither one of these fans is going to work. But on high, this broken fan, of course, is not going to work, but this one will. So just be aware that in certain situations, you may see that where, hey, the fans don't work on low at all, but one of them works on high. Now, something we have to think about, when the pressure gets too high in the AC system, there is a pressure relief valve on the AC compressor that can vent and allow refrigerant to escape into the atmosphere. Now typically when that happens, you'll hear a hissing sound and you'll see what looks like a cloud of smoke coming up from this area, like from under the hood if you're standing outside. Now we didn't see anything like that, but that doesn't mean it hasn't happened to this vehicle in the past when this issue was going on. So let's go down there and look at that pressure relief valve and see if we can see anything. Alright, from the front of the vehicle, coming underneath here, and if we look, there's our AC compressor, so that pressure valve should be like right under here, back over here somewhere. See if I can get a better view, maybe right from here. Alright, looking at the bottom of our compressor, well, right there, right in the middle, that is our pressure relief valve. Looking at it, sometimes they have a cover on there. I'm not sure if this one had a cover on there or not. Whoops. I can't get my hand around. You guys are in my way. But I'm going to reach up there and just kind of feel around, see if I feel or anything. But right now, it does not look like it vented. I don't see any evidence of it venting. It would have hit this little beam right down below it. So, at least I think so. And it would have hit the side of the compressor and we'd probably see some oil there. So I'm not seeing any evidence of anything like that happening, but that's something we need to think about. And typically, if it does vent, it's a best practice to go ahead and you have to remove all the refrigerant and then pull that out and replace it with a brand new one. Alright, just reaching up there. And I don't feel anything. So I don't think that this thing has activated, but it's definitely something to keep in mind anytime our AC pressures get too high. Well, that's it for this one. I'm going to go ahead and get a new AC condenser fan so I can get this thing fixed. I'll probably go ahead and recover the refrigerant and recharge it just to make sure we have the correct amount in there. But if you want to see that video, make sure to let me know in the comments. And as always, if the video helped you out or you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.